Hey everyone, welcome to my channel if you're new, welcome back if you're a returning subscriber. My name's Jonathan, I make luxury videos, unboxings, and reviews, and in today's video I'm going to give you tips and tricks on how to store your luxury items, so let's get into it. So before I get into the video, I just want to say don't forget to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you want to continue to see more content like this. It really does help my channel grow. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So I had a couple of people asking me how I go about storing my items and how I keep them in such immaculate condition. The reason why I like to keep my items in great shape is just because Louis Vuitton is one of those brands that definitely holds its value as it ages. So if you were to keep your item in very pristine condition and you take well care of it, you're definitely going to be able to get a lot of money back for it if you end up falling out of love with it and want to end up selling it to fund some future purchases. So we're going to talk about how I store the item, and then we're going to talk about how you can maintain the condition of your items as you use them. So let's get started. So in terms of storing your items, you definitely want to keep them in a non-humid place, and as well as you don't want to store them ever in the boxes. I know Louis Vuitton and other luxury brands give you boxes to go alongside your items, and a lot of people actually keep them in their boxes, which you're definitely really not supposed to do, especially if you have any canvas items or any leather items. You want to actually only keep them in their dust bag. The reason for this is because if you keep them in their box alongside the dust bag, there is no circulation being formed inside the box. So that can have, over time, make your leather really dry and your canvas really dry as well. So that can also lead to cracking of both the leather and the canvas. And once canvas gets cracked, there's no going back. You're not able to actually get it, send it in for repair. So you're gonna be out on that item and there's no fixing it from there. So I like to keep all of my items actually in their dust bag. That way they're able to have some circulation flowing through the item. So that way they're able to not get all dried out. As well as you definitely want to keep them in a place where you're not going to be able to have a lot of sunlight shining on them. The reason for this is because the sunlight as well will dry out your canvas and your leather materials. Especially if you have a lot of canvas items like myself, you definitely don't want to have any spot where you're going to be constantly having sunlight on them, because the canvas does get dry fairly quickly if you have a lot of sun exposure to it. As well as if you do have a lot of vachetta pieces, you are going to have a lot of patina on your pieces without even actually wearing them. I know a lot of people deliberately leave some of their vachetta pieces out just because they like the patina process in general, which is completely fine, but I wouldn't suggest keeping it there for days on end. I would suggest giving it a couple hours to patina in the sunlight and then bringing it back into a nice cool place, that way it doesn't fully dry out. As well as if you do definitely keep it out in the sunlight, similar to how we tan as people, your canvas bags will actually tan as well. So if you have a specific spot in your closet or in your shelves that sunlight will actually directly hit on your items, and there's parts of it that it will be shaded, you're gonna definitely see a lot darker canvas or a lot drier canvas on that side where the sunlight is hitting it the most. So you're gonna have an uneven balance in the canvas, and for me that's not really a really good look. So I definitely always just keep my items in my closet with the door open, so that way there is circulation flowing through it and there's no sunlight at all. And I also don't advise having your lights on in your closets for majority of the time, because the light can give another drying effect to the canvas or the leather pieces themselves. So I definitely don't have my lights on in my closet. When I'm only using the closet and I'm trying to get in and out of it, that's when I turn on those lights. But then other than that, the lights are always closed. So I would definitely suggest keeping your pieces in their dust bags at all times. But if you're not a fan of keeping your pieces in the dust bag, then you can definitely have them on your shelves. But I would suggest keeping spaces between your items, so that way they don't have any color transfer onto them. The reason why you want to keep spaces between your bags and your SLGs is because, especially if you have a lot of lighter pieces, if the bag or the SLGs were to touch, over time, the color transfer will begin to happen without you actually even using the piece. So I know a lot of leather pieces, for example, patent leather, they do absorb a lot of the moisture around them as well as the materials around them. So if you had a patent leather Chanel bag, for example, and you had a darker colored SLG or handbag closely together for it, and if they're actually touching each other, the patent leather will actually start to absorb the dye and the canvas material from the other bag, so you'll eventually get color transfer onto the patent leather bag without actually even using it. So I would definitely keep a lot of space between your bags if you do want to display them on your shelves without the dust bag. If they're in the dust bag, I definitely don't see any issues at all. I store all of my items in their dust bag just because I like to have them in there. I don't want to have any worry of them being dried out or having any color transfer, because I do stack them close together, especially my SLGs. So I don't have a lot of room in my closet, as you might have noticed from my room tour. I definitely did renovate my closet so I had more space, but I'm obviously running out of space as I continue to collect, so I definitely don't have the luxury of having a lot of these larger closets that some of these other YouTubers have, so that's why I do keep them in their dust bags. So another thing that I like to do is I like to keep all of my bags right side up when I'm storing them, just because I don't want to have them lying down or on their side, for the reason that if you keep it on its back or on its side, you're going to have the materials kind of sagging downwards, and you don't want that to happen, in my opinion. You want to make sure that the bags are always right side up, so that way they're able to maintain their shape and their quality, and you definitely can get a lot of sagging if you were to have the bag, for example, laying on its back. The pressure will make the materials go downwards, versus having it right side up. There is no pressure around the bag that will make it sag, so having it right side up, in my opinion, is the best way that you can have it. And as well as for a lot of the softer materials, if you were to put it on its back, for example the Palm Springs Mini, there is foam at the back of the bag, so the foam is actually going to start to get deflated more quicker than the actual use of the bag. So that's another reason why I like to keep my bags stored right side up, so that way they don't start to sag in different places. Even if you do have it stuffed, I still don't want to have the bag lying on its back, just because you can eventually get the bag to sag in certain places because you're putting pressure points on areas that it shouldn't necessarily have pressure points. For these bags, the bottoms usually are reinforced, so that way if you have it sitting on its right side up, there's nothing going to be able to make the bottom sag in. So that's why I like to keep it right side up. Whereas the back of the bag, there is no support. It's really malleable, as you can see. So if I were to have it pushed down on its back, it'll eventually sag in places that I don't want it to. So that's why you should keep it right side up. So another thing that you want to keep in mind is if you have a lot of bags that you want to store, you definitely always want to make sure that they're stuffed with something, whether it be air paper, whether it be tissue paper, whether it be towels, anything really to keep the bag's shape. Or if you have a lot of organizers, you definitely should store them in their organizers. The reason why I say this is because you don't want the bags to lose their shape, because if you store them and they start to lose their shape, it's really hard for the bag to come back and regain its structure. So for example, my sacadors, I definitely always keep it stuffed with some towels all the time, just because it is a very flimsy bag and there's not a lot of structure to it. So if I didn't have it stuffed, the corners would start to sag in where I carry it, and then it'll start to lose its shape over time. So I definitely don't want that to happen, especially as well with my Palm Springs Mini. The new canvas material bags are really malleable, and they definitely start to sag over time. So I definitely keep my Palm Springs Mini stuffed with my items or with some air paper, just so that way it keeps its nice shape. As well as you pay a lot of money for these bags, so you want to make sure that they stay in really pristine condition, just in case you end up falling out of love with some of these bags, you're able to resell them for such a higher price point, or for the price that you did pay for them, so that way you can help fund more purchases. So I definitely would recommend stuffing your bags, as well as I don't keep any of my straps on the bags when I am not using them. The reason for this is because the strap can cause wear on the bag itself. For bags that you don't have any option to remove the straps from, I would definitely suggest tucking them in. So for my sacadors, I definitely do keep the strap inside the bag at all times, so that way I never actually lose it. But if you have like a Neverfull, for example, or any bag that has a strap attached to it, what I would suggest is tucking the strap inside the bag, or to just leave the strap right side up. You definitely don't want to hang them on a hook or anything or on a hanger, because if you were to do so, you're going to cause a lot of strain on the actual strap itself, and then eventually the strap can snap if it is leather. So I definitely wouldn't suggest doing that. I also suggest, if you don't want to keep your straps in the bag, I suggest putting them in dust bags. I keep my Palm Springs mini bag straps in a dust bag, just because I feel as though it'll be a lot better than just having it in the Palm Springs mini bag itself, because I do keep the Palm Springs mini bag stuffed. It doesn't have any space to keep the extra straps in there, so I definitely keep them in a dust bag so that way the leather doesn't dry out. If I were to just keep it out hanging on my shelf, it would dry out the straps eventually, so that's why I keep them in the dust bag. And the last point that I want to mention is, if you do have a lot of bag charms that you keep on your bags, or the crochets that are on the Alma BB, for example, if you do keep them on the bag, I would suggest tucking them into the bag or removing them in general when you are storing it. The reason why I say this is because if you have a lot of vachetta bags or vachetta pieces with bag charms, you can get an uneven vachetta patina process on it, and then you'll be able to notice the difference between where the bag charm was laying or where it wasn't. So I would definitely recommend taking it off, as well as if you do have a bag charm on your bag, it can offer some unevenness when it's being stored if it's not a bag that you grab and go on a daily basis. So you definitely want to store the crochets or the bag charms inside the bag, just because it will make it a lot more easier for the overall well-being of the bag, because there won't be any uneven patina or any stress being on the handles. So for this bag, I definitely do take off my AirPods case, and I really only use this as a bag charm when I'm going out. So when I'm not using the bag, I definitely do take it off, just because I don't know how heavy this bag is going to be, how heavy the charm is going to be on the actual bag itself. So I don't want to put any unnecessary stress at points where it's not needed. So I definitely would recommend removing any bag charms or any crochets that you do have on your bag, so that way it alleviates that issue. Thank you so much for watching. Question of the day is, how do you store all of your luxury items? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.